Welcome to episode 25 of the Take Two podcast, where today we are talking about horror movies. Let's go.
Oh, well, I'll do that. Let me do that next. Don't forget to plug us.
All right, welcome in everybody to episode 25 of the Take Two podcast. I can't believe we've done 25 episodes
Crazy.
already. It's actually insane.
We're at our quarter life crisis.
Yes,
we're here.
Yes, we're at our literal quarter life crisis and the quarter life crisis of our YouTube channel. But super excited to be here, and it's my favorite month in the world. October, Halloween, that means horror movies. It means Kenny's birthday, it means my birthday, and it means we have a guest host, my own blood and horror fanatic like myself. Xander is here to help us review both Barbarian and Weapons. We're going to jump into Zach Cregger, give him a spotlight. We're going to talk about him. Then we're going to play some fun horror movie games at the end, give you all some good horror movies to check out. So Xander, introduce yourself. Say hi to the camera.
Yeah, as bespoken by my blood brother, Samuel, goes by Sam. I have enjoyed the past 30-ish years of my life introducing my brother to horror, and him introducing me to other horror movies, and long phone conversations around, what scared us, what we thought was good, what we don't know about, some B movie that's really good. So big fan of horror, big fan of the whole genre. So really excited to be here. And thanks, Kenny and Sam, for having me.
Yeah, it is.
Glad to have you.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be so much fun. So
it's worth saying, Sam, that a huge reason why we're doing this is, one, Xander is folklorically knowledged when it comes to horror film.
Yes.
And I am the opposite of that. Not only do I not necessarily... This is what is going to get me canceled on the pod, Sam. I don't really care that much for Halloween. I've only ever trick or treated once in my entire life, and I was 17 years old the first time I ever went trick or treating. You might think, oh, Kenny must have been a homeschooler. No, I did in fact go to public school, but I just lived out in the boonies and never went trick or treating. So today I will be playing a role of a moderator. I'm going to let the masters speak to it. I'm going to ask some questions, and their hope ultimately is to convince me that, hey, maybe horror is a genre I should be paying a little more attention to.
It so is. Thank you for that story and embarrassing background.
Gladly, yes.
I would say, like, I've always liked horror, but I've been more afraid. I get very consumed in what I'm watching, regardless of what it is. And so, and especially if you take time off, like I took, I feel like when Lauren got pregnant, a year or two off, and I became now so sensitized. Like anything I watch, I feel like I have nightmares with, and but that's great. That's why we watch horror. We watch to feel alive. And if I'm probably a 7 in the horror world, I feel like my brother's probably a 9. So you do have some good background coming in here. So with that, I guess we'll get started. We're gonna give Zach Cregger a spotlight before we jump in here. So I have my own opinions on Zach Cregger so far, but Xander, do you want to give us what are your thoughts so far? He's had 2 movies, and what are your kind of give us a minute or 2 thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think you see trends in the horror genre all the time, right? Like you saw James Wan pop into the scene, Jordan Peele, and now you're seeing Cregger. Exactly, Ari Aster. So you see these trends of hot directors come up, and you hope the studios don't suffocate their creativity. But I've really enjoyed his dark humor. He's a comedian. I'm sure you'll talk about this, but he comes from comedy, but he also obviously I think that's great because it's the yin and yang to horror is comedy. So people who really find a good sense of humor often are really understanding of horror or good at horror. So Jordan Peele, case in point, but like it is a really good first two at bats for Zach. So excited to talk about his films. I loved them both. I remember when I first watched Barbarian, calling you, Sam, and saying you got to watch this movie. So
Yeah, and I would agree. I would say just kind of mentioning Ari Aster because I feel like he was kind of the latest hot shot before Zach Cregger came along. Is like I'm very excited right now to get away from the Ari Aster style, like just the really long, artsy, brooding, and I feel like
very art house.
art house.
Good.
I feel like good, but like Zach Cregger's movies are so entertaining. I'm just so gripped and so like they're like as equally fun as they are horror. Like you mentioned, like coming from a comedy background, just he makes it work so well. So I agree.
It's also worth noting, and it's something, Xander, that you were hitting on, that horror movies typically, even though again I'm not a huge horror fan, but when I have watched horror movies in the past and like I still keep up with box offices and follow all these things, several things. One, there's an argument to be made that horror movies and thrillers have almost single-handedly kept movie theaters alive because it's one of the it is a very, very profitable market. You can make a really scary movie that will make a lot of money for relatively cheap in comparison. You're paying just for a lot of like costume design, really. And then also it is one of the most creative spaces that you'll find in the modern Hollywood. There's just not a lot of derivation happening there. Yeah, you do have your sequels, you have your Mithriegans or whatever you call that movie that happens, but for the most part you're getting a lot of original work, a lot of indie style films, and these movies are making money. This is also arguably the year for horror movies. I mean, we talked about, as much as
Sinners.
Sam and I didn't necessarily love Sinners like the rest of the internet did, it's considered a horror movie to Sam's chagrin, and
Yes.
it is probably still the most popular movie of the year. So this is a great time to be talking about
we can
this.
talk about that later. I'm glad you brought Sinners up, though. Glide in the chat says, I'm glad to see Xander, especially since Sam looks homeless. That's great. I did bring I was going to do my Michael Scott paper mache head here to celebrate. I have it right here in the video, but I couldn't get it to stay, unfortunately.
It's so scary.
So, yeah, I think the best thing to do here, since Zachary only has 2 films, is to start with Barbarian, his original work. And let's do a quick, a solid review, actually, of Barbarian. And just to be clear, I watched Barbarian for the first time a couple months ago. I'd been too scared to watch it. I think I just heard too much from my brother, even from other people I knew who were like, wow, that's the scariest movie I've seen in years. And I was like, very, very sensitized, like I said. And I was like, I can't handle that right now. I was like, I will lose it. So I waited a long time and I finally got to watch it. And let me tell you, I was absolutely gripped with this movie from the beginning. And it was so much better than I thought it was going to be, like in the directions that it went. I'll say this. Horror for me, I think the best horror movies and what I've become more drawn to as I've gotten older is the setup of horror films. Like, how well is that tension being built? And I like going into horror movies. I don't want to know anything, right? I'll watch 15 seconds of a trailer. I'm like, that's all I can watch. I want to be surprised. And this movie has one of the best, like, the whole first third of the film is just build up. And for anyone who hasn't seen Barbarian, I will explain the beginning. Basically, a woman checks into this Airbnb, like basically in the middle of the night or late at night, and there's already somebody there. And that person convinces this woman who's trying to check in there, it's a guy, that, oh, it was a mistake. See, I also booked this unit, but on another site. We're very, very suspicious of this person. And the situations are the situation is very tense. Like, anytime you're watching a horror movie, it's kind of like Scream, right? You're like, nope, I would not stay there. You need to drive. You need to leave. And my heart is just pounding because the entire time you're like, what is going to happen in this movie? Like, is this guy some sort of psycho? Does he do this to all these people? What's going on? And in the middle of the night, like, we're hearing footsteps and like, but the guy seems like really nice and romantic without being creepy. He's very charismatic. And it's all just buildup for an entire third of the film until she can't find this guy in the middle of the night and she goes into the basement and she finds something even beyond the basement. And there's like a dark room with a recording studio, and you're just like, what the F is going on and what's going to happen? In the chat, hello, Lauren. Hello, McNeasy. Glasses week for the podcast. It is glasses week. We all wanted to look extra smart this week. So here we are. And there comes a moment, and you, all the way up until this moment, we're probably 30 minutes in the movie, you're just wondering, this woman is basically walking into freaking the darkest tunnel cave you've ever seen. You're just screaming like, get out of there, get out of there. And something so shocking and horrific happens so suddenly in like just a couple seconds. You jump, you scream, and it's terrifying. And then the movie cuts and we jump to a new character and it's broad daylight. And it's just like that. It's one of the best starts to a horror movie I've ever seen. Like the tension building and just, and I think it's the first time you're confused almost. We jump to Justin Lawn in California on a bright sunny day in a car, and you're just like, it's the first time we get to see Zach Cregger weaving different storylines and different timings happening, which we see a ton in Weapons, but you get to see it here in this first film. And like, so I'll just start with saying that I think it's one of the best starts to a horror movie I've seen.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I also think that part of the whole setup and slow burn that you talked to earlier, like the payoff is worth it. Some people hate that. He does a really good job of making it okay for everyone, because your human instincts in your mind naturally starts to wander and say, where is this going? Is this guy good or bad? And he misdirects you very well that way.
Yes.
Both in Barbarian and Weapons. I know we'll get to Weapons, but where you're starting to think about all the little clues you're seeing, and your mind wanders and you really get distracted from the chaos that is about to ensue on screen. He also does a really good job of building characters, which I think that is something that's very difficult in horror. Like typically it's like, all right, this is the last girl scenario and everyone's going to die off, right? And his movies are very good at like making you, and I'll talk about a little bit more in Weapons, but a little bit more endearing to the characters, and ultimately building up to like a climax that is just absolute, like blows your mind a little bit. And I think it's beautiful how he does it. But yeah, I agree.
Real
like
quick,
Bill,
Xander, in the chat, we have someone who says, I think it was so unexpected too because of the use of Skarsgård too. They kind of bank on your familiarity with that actor. Great call out to him playing it or Pennywise. And then he says,
"You took the words out of my mouth."
He said, "I said too many times," shaking my head. Yeah, rookie mistake.
Yeah, and Skarsgård is like the perfect person to play the nice guy, because like your commenter saying, like everyone associates him with horror roles, and you know, don't trust that person. And to go on one of your points earlier, in both movies there's a lot of points where you're saying, no, don't do that, no, don't do that. Like that's a very good attribute of a director and of a film, to have the audience talking to themselves out loud. Like to me that's great horror.
Even
right?
Xander, going off what you're saying, like, and I'm just thinking of this now, but like going off what you're saying is making me think of this. Justin Long is like super known for horror, right? But he's usually the
Jeepers
good
Creepers.
guy. Yeah, he's usually the good guy, right? And like in this movie, he's such a scumbag. Like he's the biggest scumbag on earth. Like he ends up, for anyone, like Justin Long ends up owning this house, where this horror is taking place, but he doesn't really know it. And he goes back to this house because he's being accused of sexual assault, and he gets fired from his job. And when he's asked at one point during the movie by our friend, he's like, hey man, so like, what really happened there? You know, Justin Long is like, you know me, man, like, I'm not going to take no for an answer. Like, I'm aggressive. Like, it wasn't like, I didn't RAPE her, you know, but like, you know, you're kind of like, wait, what?
Justin Long is painted very well as like, maybe not to the degree of sexual assault, but a person in someone's life. Like everyone has that friend who you ask them about something that's very obvious that they did, and they clearly divert it to massage the story to sound like it's okay, right? And everyone has that person life, so it's very relatable. Another good attribute of the film. My favorite part of the film is the African American actor, and I think it's played by James Butler, but he is literally my favorite part of the film. And there's like I won't spoil it, or I guess we are, I don't know, but there's a great moment towards the end.
We should say there are spoilers on this podcast, okay? If you haven't seen Barbarian by now, it's been out for a handful of years, and it's been regarded, I feel like, as the best mainstream horror film for many years now. So if you haven't seen it, that's on you. Weapons has also been out long enough where we're going to spoil some stuff. So just like, that's on you guys.
I'll try to tread the line between spoiler and vague.
I like that.
But James Butler is this character who I don't know if it's set there, but you feel like this is set somewhere outside of Detroit, Michigan.
Yes.
And the whole time this guy's like, hey, you know, come to the water tower. It's safe at the water tower. She never comes get me. And she is like the ultimate, like penultimate villain in this film. But, and then there's this like classic moment in the film where like that goes out of the window, like clearly not safe at the water tower. So it is, and he's also very comedic and exaggerated. So again, talking about Zach's like ability to bring comedy into it, there's even when it's like the scariest part of the film, he has a way of bringing comedy into it. So I think it's really good.
McNeasy and that's says like a key to any LMAO. I love that scene. It is, you can't forget that scene. It's one of the funniest scenes ever. If anyone's ever seen From Dusk Till Dawn, it gave me very close memories of when he's in From Dusk Till Dawn. He's giving this huge speech, the black guy in that movie, and then you see a vampire rising up behind and he just gets rocked. McNeasy says you could feel it coming, but it was still so hilarious. Yes, like it doesn't even matter. Like the build-up's so good. Like, and that's the thing I'll say about Zach Cregger is like and I think it's that comedy you were talking about earlier, Xander, is like it makes for just some great moments that he embraces. Like I had that scene written down, of course, but I'm gonna go even off that scene because there's another one that I don't know if it's getting talked about enough, like from this film, but like the water tower scene at the end where
Justin Long
and our heroine gets like thrust off, like Justin Long basically screws her and she's gonna die. And you get the scene that doesn't even like make sense timing wise, but you get our sort of she creature thing that goes off the water tower, and the shot is just hilarious of her just full scale diving for this woman off the water tower. It's just a hilarious shot, and
it's very much in parallel to the end of Weapons, in my opinion. Yes. But there's like they follow the same beat. But the whole movie is good because I think it's like an 80-20 rule. I'm not saying he has this rule, but if you're like scared of horror movies, these are truly horrific movies, both of them. Like they are terrorizing movies. But at the same time, 80% of the movie isn't scary and it borders on funny. So it's an incredible balance to say only 20% of my movie is going to be scary. People are going to be like, that was one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. But 80% of the movie is going to be either really good character building, drama, dialogue, or just straight up comedy. So I think that's really impressive.
Have several questions is, again, like you're explaining this movie to me. It's not something like it as a non-horror fan, does it like, it sounds like it plays into a lot of the horror tropes, but like what is like the thing that the movie does better than most other horror movies that you're saying makes it like, you know, you're saying it's one of the best horror movies of the past few years?
Oh yeah.
Right. So like what about it makes it that?
I think everything kind of we've been saying, like I'll summarize it quickly, is like the tension building, the character building, and he really uses like the unknown. He keeps you very titillated the entire time. Okay, I don't know if that's an inappropriate word to use on the stream, but I was very titillated while I was watching it. And the last thing I'm going to say, the last point going off that titillation that I want to talk about is the title of his films, because a lot of titles get lost. Okay, before we're in the stream, for all of our private members in the chat, by the way, we're the worst. We're literally the worst channel ever. We don't like shill ever. We don't tell people to sub to our channel. We don't tell people to join our Discord.
I literally told you to do it before
I know. We just get so into talking film. Like, I'm having so much fun that I'm just so bad at that part. But like, if you haven't joined our Discord or subbed or liked the video, please do that. We honestly need the likes. Like, we really need it. Seriously, you guys. Like, I need this. Anyways, all that to be said, I think we were talking about a movie before the stream that I'm in the middle of that's amazing. And the movie is called Speak No Evil. And I was talking to Lauren about the title today, and I was like, I don't know if I love the title. It's a little like on the nose. As you're watching the film, you're kind of like, man, like, yeah, I get it, like pretty early on, like what the movie's about. The thing I love about both of Zach Cregger's titles is they're kind of ambiguous, right? Like in Barbarian, you're wondering the whole time, like, who is the barbarian here, right? As you go along and you begin to learn more, is it this, we find out that there's a like sick, like kidnapping serial killer in this movie that is different from this like woman who's this creature who's killing people, and you're like, but we actually I felt very sympathetic towards her by the end of the film. And then is Justin Long the barbarian? Can we even look at the police as being barbarians for not like listening to this woman for her cries for help and trying to explain things, and they think she's a crackhead? Like, I love his titles because you're thinking about them during the movie. And weapons, the same thing. The whole movie, I'm just thinking to myself, like, weapons, interesting. Okay, I'm kind of getting it. And then you really get it by the end of Weapons, like what that title means. I'm going to catch us up on some comments, and I'll pass it over to you, Zinner. Glide says, you don't do it for subs. It is for the love of the game. It truly is. McAvoy, yes. Oh my gosh. We might talk about that movie later. It's so good, and I haven't finished it, so I don't want to talk about it too much. Magnesi says, Barbarian had one of the greatest twists I've seen from what I can remember. My jaw actually dropped in that tunnel scene. Yeah, it was incredible. So, Xander, I'll pass it for you. What are your final thoughts on Barbarian, and what would you rate the film out of 10?
Final thoughts on Barbarian. I think it was, to your point, what makes it unique to Kenny's question is it goes from very grounded to off the walls very quickly, and that's what makes a film really good, right? And it goes from very grounded for a long time, where we really don't, we're getting peeks behind the curtain throughout the film, and then it just spirals, and it spirals hard, just like Weapons does, which makes it great. My final review for the film, actually, before I give my number out of 10, right, you said?
Yeah, out of 10. Before
I give my number 10, I just like to ask everyone to like and subscribe, and then we're looking to grow the channel. Anyway, no, I would give it, I'm teetering between like a 7.5 and 8, but I'm gonna go 8 out of 10 just because it's the first film by this director, and it's truly enjoyable. And like what I think about is, am I thinking about that movie when I get home from the theater? Am I thinking about it the next day? Am I looking things up online about it? This one is a definite yes on that. That moves it to an 8 out of 10. So highly recommend.
8 out of 10 from Xander. Oh, Kenny, you have a question? I don't even my rating.
No. Go for it, and then I'll kind of ask I'll ask another question after you go.
I've also been at an 8 out of 10 with this one, Xander, but I think recently, just the more I think about it, I think I'm at an 8.5. I know it's not a significant difference, but I'm like, man, I feel like I could recommend this to anyone looking for a horror movie. Like Kenny, was in the Discord the other day, kind of pissing his pants, like, how scary is this movie? Listen, I was there.
Totally.
I was too scared to watch it for years, okay? And I just think it hits, and I think it's just the director partly, especially for Barbarian, but like, I think it's like anyone can watch this and enjoy it. And I have scenes I can't forget from this movie. Like 3 scenes I just can't forget. So I'm at an 8.5, so like, I'm right there with you. I think it's like, do I think it's like just an absolute masterpiece? I don't know if it's that, but like Zach Cregger entertains us, and I appreciate that.
So I'll add one thought. And this is to go back about the start of the film, is what Zach Cregger does really well is he does something that a lot of people struggle with in today's day and age, and it's making a modern film, right? He uses like an Airbnb style kind of setting, right? In Weapons, he uses Ring cameras. We'll get to that, but like that's hard to do because like it's really cheesy and corny. It's like literally like the horror movies are now like, oh, we're on a podcast and someone's in the background, right? It's not that creative. He does a very good job of taking modern technology. He takes a really good job of taking modern technology or modern situations and bringing them into horror.
Before Kenny wraps us up, McNeasy says Xander for third co-host.
Third chair. It's open,
that's
man.
Actually, that's pretty. We've had 2 guests on before. No one's ever said that. So no offense to our previous guests, but like,
yeah. Sorry, Josh. You've been outvoted by
Josh,
one guy.
Rip. And then he says, Ending was a little goofy, but it's a solid 9. Wow, McNeasy, I love it. I love the goofiness of the ending. I actually loved it. But all right, Kenny, any thoughts before we move on to weapons?
Okay, these are quick hitters, and these are going to be out of 10. You're going to rate the movie in these categories, and I'll ask you the same question about weapons.
Okay.
Number 1 is tension. Xander, what would you rate the movie out of 10 on tension?
9.
Same. 9.
Sam?
9. Same.
Jump scares?
3, 4, somewhere lower.
6. Yeah.
Okay. Pacing?
Depends what you like on pacing, but I'm not going to qualify my answer. I'll give it 10.
I will also give it 10.
Nice. Effects, makeup, special effects, that sort of stuff.
10.
10.
Nice. And then we'll go just last one, music.
I'll go 6.
I go 5.
I have a very different opinion about the next film on that.
Okay, cool. On to the next movie. Let's talk about weapons.
So what a fun movie. Like, go watch Barbarian if you haven't seen it. Yes, weapons. Okay, I think, and I'm going to say this. I know I've knocked Sinners a lot this year. Xander, that's the whole thing. Maybe you can listen to that if you get the time. But I don't think it was a bad movie. We're not going to go down the Sinners rabbit hole. Well, maybe we will. But first off, Sinners wasn't scary at all, okay? And the horror part of the movie, I don't think was that great. So, this is horror movie of the year for me as far as blockbusters go, okay? As far as mainstream goes, like, it's Weapons for me, hands down. It's not even close when compared with Sinners as far as the horror genre goes. Now, I got a lot of thoughts on Weapons. And I'll say this. Again, props to the director. I think this is probably the most talked about horror movie. I'm not even going to count Sinners as a horror movie because it's just not there for me. But probably the most talked about horror movie since Barbarian. So props to him for making that happen. Zach Cregger, good job. And I'll go in and say, what do I want to say about this movie? I saw it in theaters, and it was bloody awesome. I really liked it, and I felt like Zach Cregger really opened his scope a lot. Like, if Barbarian was more focused in on a tighter plot with a couple characters, he really opened this to a full town, a small town, horror style, of course, like, but you can feel him opening up here. While I would say right off the bat, I liked this movie about the same as I did Barbarian, but maybe for some similar and some different reasons. I don't think it does the tension as well by any means as Barbarian does, but it really hits harder as far as like the super creepy effect, like some of the gore and violence. Like, I don't like gore, but it hits it pretty hard and pretty creepy. Like, some of that stuff is stuck in my head. But I'll say this, like, for as gory and like as creepy as Weapons was, I didn't have any nightmares about Weapons, okay? I think about it, don't get me wrong. And Aunt Gladys, we're going to talk about Aunt Gladys, like, legendary character. I think he does an amazing job putting her on the screen, and like, she's going to be iconic for years. I don't think you necessarily have that character in Barbarian, even though like you have a character you think about in Barbarian, but not like Aunt Gladys. Like, props to him. But at the same time, I had nightmares for 2 nights after watching Barbarian. And I think that's what tension does to you. And I'm not sure like I quite felt that dread and tension and scariness in this film, even though this film did better on jump scares. This scared me like while I was watching it more so than Barbarian. Anyways, I'm kind of scattering all over the place, but I'll say like I really, really liked it, and I'll pass it off to my brother for his initial thoughts. Quick comment from Levi Wood. I haven't seen Weapons, but Julia Garner is my queen, and you better not trash on her. Is that the blonde chick? Is that Julia Garner?
Julia Garner's the teacher. Yeah, she's fantastic in everything she does. So
wow, that's
more
high
power
praise.
to her.
This is the first thing I've really seen her in. I only watched 1 episode of Ozark, so there you go.
Yeah, she's fantastic in Ozarks. But Weapons to me was fantastic. Yeah, I agree with you. Horror film of the year, and it's in my top 5 horror movies of all time.
Whoa,
which is a statement to make
are you
because
serious?
Crazy.
I watched it.
I watched
it in theaters, and then I recently watched it at home. And the second watch is way better than the first watch.
Wow.
I would because this is like I think like a disservice of Zach Cregger's directing, because when you're watching a horror movie in a theater, you're expecting to be scared. You're doing all these things. You're trying to follow along. You're trying to guess who's the bad person or what's the twist, what's the gimmick. Then watching it the second time, like most movies, you pick up all these other details, and I'll talk about a few of those as we get into it. But he does an incredible job in this movie in every aspect, to the point where you have empathy for very flawed characters. You are just enamored by the idea of this movie, like and similar to Barbarian, it has a much higher scale of shit hits the fan at the end that works way better, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm gonna Xander. I can't even believe this is in your top 5 horror movies of all time, and that's not a knock on it, like at all. I'm gonna. Okay, so McNeasy just said this, and this is something I was just about to mention. So I'm gonna throw a few things your way, Xander. I'm gonna challenge you a little bit, especially since you just rewatched it and you're fresh. McNeasy says, "Y'all gotta explain the floating M4 above the house for me." I got a few things I gotta question you on. Okay, here's the first thing. Here's my qualms with the movie, and here's the difference for me. And I liked it about as equally as Barbarian, like spoiler alert, but like I have more qualms with this film than I do with Barbarian. But granted, the scope of this film and the, I would say, ambition of this film is bigger, right? Sort of similar to where Jordan Peele, like Get Out. I loved Get Out, okay? I know some people like hate on it for whatever reason. I thought Get Out was great. I might have liked Us even more than Get Out, but it had more flaws than Get Out. But the scope was much larger. And that's how I feel here going into Weapons. So I'm going to hit you with a few things. And you give me the best answers you can give me here, okay? Here's my qualms just from when I watched the movie. The police in the town, and granted this is a horror trope, terrible job with this investigation. Like, FBI, where are we? And this is what bothers me. Okay, I love Josh Brolin in the movie. I love Josh Brolin in general. Okay, he goes to the house to check. He goes to cameo shout out to Justin Long is in this movie as well. So he's clearly like friends with the director. But he goes to this house. He's like, "Hey, can I watch your film to see where your kid got kidnapped?" And the wife is like, I don't feel comfortable with that. I was like, that's just a stupid line. Like, no one knows where your kid is. And the parent that's like trying the hardest to find them, you're really going to be like, no, you can't watch like my kid leaving the house. That annoyed me. That was like a plot hole problem for me. And then what annoyed me is like Justin Long.
Can I interject there?
Yes.
Because, so I actually specifically recognize that point too. And I actually loved that part of the movie because it was clearly an opportunity for comic relief where he asks the woman for the camera. She's uncomfortable, like, why are, like, maybe untrusting. I don't know. But she says no, or maybe she's trying to move on because it's been 30 days. I have no idea.
30 days.
But the best part of it was for me is Josh Brolin's character just waits till the husband gets home, who is, of course, Justin Long, which was great. But then just ambushes the husband the same way, like with maybe a little better strategy. He's like, oh, okay. And I thought that was hilarious,
That
right?
is
Because
funny.
the wife is,
That
because
is,
being married, I'm like, this is clearly like my son going to my mom and
right.
to my wife and saying, can I have this? And she's saying no, then coming to me separately, me saying, oh yeah, that's okay. And my wife being like, why would you say that's okay? So like it really was like a good moment of comic relief in the film, I thought.
It is funny. Like, I get that device, that is funny, but I would even think like the wife would be like, oh, this is like, I guess I just would imagine like it could be used differently because that just strikes me as odd. If somebody was like, hey.
Sure.
But I appreciate what you said. That makes sense. McNeasy also says Sam took the glasses off. He's getting serious. Yes, that is a fact. I'm about to get crazy right now. So let's go off of that. They're watching. Like you said, Justin Long lets him in. That's great. Ambush. And he gets to watch where this kid goes. And he pulls out a map of the town. And he draws like 3 or 4 lines and finds where all the kids are going. And it's like, seriously? Like, no one thought of this. Like, one map, what direction is this kid going? What direction is this kid going? Like, it just was, like, a little ridiculous to me that, like, no one, like, no detective, no FBI agent, like, no one had, like, put any thought into this. So, like, I just thought that was a little weird.
It's naive? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Xander.
No, go ahead, Kenny.
Is it naive of me? Because I'm hearing you like poke holes in all of these plots, Sam. And again, I have not watched a ton of horror movies, but to me, like that kind of weird psychosis in horror movies of like people just not making very rational decisions just feels like an integral part to a lot of these stories. So do you feel like it's different? Is that me just not having watched good horror movies?
Yeah, I feel like he respects his characters generally enough to like not make them as dumb as other characters. And that's why like the characters at the beginning of Barbarian are so great, is you're just like, oh, I don't know how to feel like in their shoes, because they seem to be taking very like appropriate adult actions to an extent. So like, anyways, that's just a little trifling.
I think it's a fair point because there's some credence to it, but I also think they explain this very well at the beginning of the film and at the end of the film, right? At the beginning of the film, they talk about how the police and the FBI were embarrassed that they couldn't find 30 kids and had no explanation for this, right? So they're trying to like prelay the fact that this is embarrassing. Even the people in the town, the parent, like this is something that they don't want to bring attention to. That's not to excuse this lapse of a detail, right? But then later on, we come to find out that, oh, they couldn't find the kids in this certain spot. Well, they also explain it with how, like, if it was going towards this Alex kid's house, where, is the epicenter of where everything unfolds at the end. Well, they explain how they did away with that when the FBI and the police came to investigate that later in the film, what Gladys did to ensure that they were not suspects in this case. So I do think that there's a little bit of like explanation both pre and post that moment. But I agree, it's a little ridiculous.
I also thought that explanation, like, even though they did it, which I do appreciate, I also felt the explanation was, like, a little soft, like, considering the way they filmed it. I was just like, there's no way, like, the FBI agents weren't like, there's something very weird going on here with, like, the way the parents are acting.
Yeah, but I think that actually explains a lot else in the movie, and I'll speak to that a little bit, right? So what Sam's talking about is like the parents were under some sort of trance, right, throughout this movie, and from this Gladys, our central villain, right? And if you think about earlier in the film, and to your point earlier, Sam, this is a really big way of piecing a story together. It was like Crash, right? You have all these different storylines that just intersect eventually, or throughout the film, actually. But I think that what was really cool about all this is, I'm losing my train of thought here, but it's really an important point.
Well, it
So
sounds
all
like the
these
plot
things.
holes are piling up, and you don't know which way to
No,
go.
no. Yeah, I think you're right. No, oh, here's where I was going with this. There's a couple moments in the film that are jump scares, right?
Yes.
At the very beginning, in each story, you get it like Josh Brolin has a nightmare. You see like kind of this caricature of Gladys. Same with the teacher. Same with the drug addict, right? And part of Zach's explanation for this part of the film is that why are they seeing those? Are those real? Is something going on? Because, well, they're saying the evil that this woman brings to town is kind of enchanting this town. And there's a theory out there that like this could also be part of like why the police and FBI are uneasy and not seeing things, right? Because she wasn't really there in those scenes, right? So, or the other kind of theory there is like, is this a warning to stay away? You're getting too close to what's going actually on, right? So it's interesting, but I agree with you. I think that's a fair point, but it's not a big enough point to take me away from absolutely smashing the
That's great.
like button on this
We're
film.
getting through it. We're getting through it. And I'm going to touch on two more
Yeah.
things, okay? McDaisy in the chat says the best horror has people making good decisions, though. I think that's fair. I think that is a fair statement to make. And I'll say, and then he also said the giant M4 scared me. So right now I'm going to get to the M4, okay? I'm going to get to the assault rifle. Okay, so for Kenny, who hasn't seen the film, there is a scene where Josh Brolin is in a dream state, okay? And he's walking towards this house, and there's a random M4 assault rifle floating over this house, okay? It's very weird. It's very strange. It feels very out of touch to me. When I watched it, I was like, ooh, I'm looking for the time. Didn't see it. I went with a group of friends, and afterwards, like, none of us could piece it together. When I did research after, apparently it's like a loose reference to like some political like gun law reform rule or something that didn't get passed for gun reform, and it was just like a nod to it, and it's really loosey-goosey. I'm just kind of like, seriously, dude? Like, that is just such a whack, like, weird thing. Now it has people talking, so we'll give them that. I'm talking about it clearly, but like, come on.
I would agree. This is, to me, I took it as a red herring, which it might have been, might have not been, but it's part of a dream. And I think the other part of it is it's clearly some sort of message from the director. It's my knock on the film as well. It's like, what is this thing? This doesn't make sense. Even though it's part of a dream sequence, it's like, this is out of place in this film. But at the same time, it was not something that like really took me away. And if anything, it could be a little bit misdirection. I don't think that's what it was intended to be, obviously, based on what you read online. But yeah, that would be my one knock on film. It's like, can't explain that. That's just ridiculous, right?
And that's basically all I have, Xander. It was like the weird Josh Brolin finding this out when the cops and the M4 assault rifle. Like, that was it for me. Like, listen, I'm not. You guys know me. I'm not a big criticizer of films. I'm not here to poke plot holes and things, right? Like, that's not me.
Sam.
That's more of a Kenny thing, right?
But if I know, Sam, you don't watch a lot of like the marketing or previews for films, they definitely use this in the marketing of the film. So I think that could also be a piece of it, right? They said, hey, like we're gonna use this as a flash grab to like get people to come to the movie, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the movie.
I do appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of okay. So we've talked a little bit about weapons. There's more to talk about. I know you have more. I'm going to say my quick thing before I let you go on a little more about weapons, Xander, since you again rewatched it and are more well versed in it than me. But here's my just 2 cents on it. I think weapons is more iconic as a whole than Barbarian. I do. Like, I think Aunt Gladys is going to live on in film lore forever. I don't think you're going to necessarily get that from Barbarian. But I ultimately enjoyed Barbarian more in my first viewing of just like suspense and not knowing what's going to happen. Where I felt like this film, I was a little annoyed by this film too, where like it was being described as like a horror mystery film. Like, okay, like really, like you're gonna call this a mystery film to a degree. Like like it's pretty clear early on, like the snowball of like what's going on. Like it's just horror, and that's fine.
I had heard a lot of that too, where everyone was like caveating this movie as, oh, it's horror, but this, or it's maybe more of a thriller, or really it's just like a murder mystery. Or I had heard a lot of that.
Yeah,
about
right.
this movie.
And that kind of bothered me because I was like
So
kind of looking forward to that mystery aspect. And I get it. There was mystery in a sense, and I appreciated where it went, but it didn't feel like a detective true horror or like whodunit mystery. So that was okay. McNeasy says, Sam wants a weapons cinematic universe, the WCU. Okay, listen, I don't want that. Just go ahead, Xander, take it away here. That's my last thoughts on there.
yeah, no, I absolutely love this film because every single character is flawed in some way, and these characters are very flawed. You end up caring and like feel bad for each and every one of them. In fact, like the more flawed they are, I tended to feel like, oh, worse for like. There's a point where the drug addict like actually discovers where these missing children are.
Can I stop you right there, Xander? Can I stop you right there? Outside of Aunt Gladys, did the drug addict steal the film?
Yeah, he did. For me, at least.
And
for me, it's like, well, yeah, like he's clearly a drug addict. He's a bum. Like there's like they make him into the worst human being ever. Like, and then you're like, you feel terrible for him because he gets put in a scenario where he's the one person that knows the answer. And then all of a sudden, because of the events that have transpired right before that, he cannot communicate that to anyone. And it ends up leading to ultimately his demise and somebody else's demise. So it's like, it's a crazy scenario where you feel really bad for him. And you also feel really bad awkwardly for the cop who's just like a dirtball. But like you feel really bad for him because of the things that happened to him, like from the drug addict mainly. But it's like his whole life gets turned upside down pretty much because of this drug addict and his own life decisions. But it was quite I don't know. It was quite. I love how it all weaves together, and I think the best, like, similar to how you panned to Justin Long in Barbarian. I think when they moved to the principal's, I forget his name, the principal's scene with his like gay husband and Gladys shows up, that is like where the movie really turns, right? Like that's when the movie snaps because you see the principal in an earlier scene, the very first, this kind of follows characters around, like I think 5 or 6 different characters throughout the film. You see this crazy principal at one point earlier in the film, but you don't really think much of it because he's like such a good, like, by the book principal and like looking out for the best interest of everyone. And then that scene happens where Gladys shows up to his house with his like husband and like all chaos ensues. And it is actually like, it was like the most like jaw-dropping moment of the film for me outside of like Alex's whole story. That's just crazy, the latter half of the film. Did
you resonate with that as your name is Alex?
Yeah, I was like, I am Alex. This is how I feel going to work every day. So,
yeah. I thought, first off, that scene was hilarious. I don't know why. Like, I actually cracked up in the movie theater with the 2 husbands, the principal, and they have like a tray of like hot dogs and some other stuff.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what?
It was just very good. Like you could tell there was like comedic like themes throughout the movie, and that was one of them. So.
I thought that was hilarious. Okay, can we get on to, before we move on and we finish rating this movie, like, can we just get on to the ending of this movie, which has to be one of the greatest endings in like horror film history? Like, we see the title of this film come to life in such, and can I say this before I move on? I don't want to spoil the ending for everyone, okay? But I'm going to say this. Zach Cregger, like, in both films, Barbarian and Weapons, has given us, for the most part, very satisfying endings. Okay,
Yeah, which is hard.
it's very hard in horror movies. A lot of horror films take a cheap way out where, oh, you think someone's going to get out and the killer appears one more time and kills them and the movie ends. And you're like, oh, great. Or, and maybe it ends and then maybe there's another clip of like the cycle starting to repeat and it happens over again. No. He gives us like great endings in both films that tie into the title of the film. So I gotta say, like, Weapons, I think that ending is going to like live on for a long time. Like, I don't want to spoil it per se for people who haven't seen it, but like that ending is just fantastic.
It felt like I was in a stadium cheering. Like I was
Yes.
excited for what was happening at the ending. And there's also like, while this craziness is going on, there's also a sense of just like pure like humor as well, because of like all the different settings that this ending happens in. It felt like a Family Guy sketch for a little bit, and it was like hilarious. So I just loved the chaos of it. And ultimately like that satisfying feeling that you're describing, Sam, where you left the theater being like, yeah,
Yeah.
that was good,
Hell
right?
yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, so Xander, what are your, okay, you said, I'll give my rating first. I'm going to also give this movie an 8.5. I'm tying it with Barbarian. I like it for different reasons. It maybe has more highs than Barbarian of different ones, but it also has some questions that I have. It's an 8.5 for me, but I love, like, an 8.5 is great. I love it. For Xander, top 5 horror film of all time currently. Now, Xander, just so you know, Kenny is like, no offense, Kenny, I love you, the king of recency bias, okay? Xander,
so
since
true.
I've known you, Xander, you've got a little recency bias in you too, a little
Yeah.
bit. But top 5, Xander, what are you rating this film as a top 5 film?
So it's a good question, and I think the recency bias is maybe a little bit true, but it came after. Wouldn't have considered that walking out of the theater, even though I loved the movie. It was after the second watch. So if you've watched this one, I say watch it again. The foreshadowing is incredible. There's moments where like you're just hearing a TV in the background talking like about a parasite, or the teacher in her class talking about like how something is feeding off something else. Like there's all these little subtle things that are so good that I did not obviously catch because you're so enamored with the everything, trying to ingest everything. So I loved everything about it. So after a second watch, maybe there's a little recency bias, but like it's not even that I think it scores as a 9.5 on my list. I think it's more around the originality of it. Like he wrote this script, he executed it flawlessly, people fought over it, right? And he did a really good job with it. And you don't get much original stuff, whether it's horror or other genres these days. Usually it's playing off of something in the past.
Yes.
This was 100% original, right? So it's like, that was something that you just don't see that often.
Cool.
And same with
Sinners-
Barbarian.
Sinners
It's
was
one of the
original.
reasons I love it.
Jordan.
Sinners was original. You know, wasn't Sinners scary because it was original?
Well, Sinners
Well, this is the
wasn't scary at
movie
all. I
that
tend
Jordan
to agree.
Peele fired his agents over, right?
Yes.
Because he was like, I need this script, and they couldn't get it for him.
Jordan Peele got him instead. What a backfire.
Yeah,
Oof.
brutal.
Oof, but Jordan Peele's pissed. 9.5. So, because Kenny hasn't rated it, that means, and Xander's a guest host, that means the Take Two podcast is rating this film a 9 out of 10, which is
That might be the highest. Is that the
I think
highest that we've had?
Well, no, I would say
Maybe
high-
Memories of Murder.
I was gonna say
or
Memories
Mother.
of Murder and maybe Parasite. We did have a Bong Joon-ho episode in there. I doubt you've listened to that, but
By the way, speaking of Parasite, this and Barbarian have very like similar Parasite vibes to it. Both of these films have the same vibes where it starts slow, they're building the characters really well, and then it just goes into chaos in the last 30 minutes of film, and that's exactly what happens in Barbarian. That's exactly what happens to me. And that you could just say that's slow burns in general, but I think the chaos point that this escalates to is incredible.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but I would say like Bong Joon-ho is like the grand master of slow burn, but I was like Zach Cregger. Hell, give him like a modern master of slow burn. Like he gets us going even a little sooner.
Some slow burns, everyone will always say about slow burns, oh, it's a slow burn, but it's really worth it. Well, his slow burns, same with Bong, they're not like slow burns that aren't worth it. Like you enjoy the part of the film that is a slow burn. I've watched a lot of horror movies that I really like where the slow burn is like kind of insufferable to get through, or I like fall asleep and I'm like, I better watch this tomorrow. Right?
Midsummer. Ugh.
Yeah, I agree. Midsummer. Great
McNeesy,
film.
So
Probably not one that grips you the whole
McNeesy,
time.
before Kenny interjects, I'm going to say McNeesy says 2 out of 10 for weapons. Too many oversized M4s. Wait, revise. He gave it a 9 out of 10. And he said he enjoyed Barbarian more, though. That's how I felt, awkwardly enough. Like
I could see that. I mean, it's a fair take, but I loved Weapons way more. I've watched them both. I watched them both in the theater, and I watched them both on a second watch. And the one I enjoyed way more on a second watch was Weapons by a mile.
A mile, Xander? A mile?
Yeah.
mile.
Yeah.
Kenny, say something to this man.
Listen, I relate to him in how he feels about recent movies. That's all I can really say. No, but you articulate quite well, Xander. So I'll ask the same kind of ratings out of 10 on the same topic. So tension.
Xander, I'll let you answer first, and then I'll give my number after.
I would actually go much lower than Barbarian on tension. I'd go about a 5 on tension. I thought it was actually pretty mellow for most of the film.
5 for me as well. That's what I was going to say. 5.
Okay. Jump scares.
6 or 7. They definitely weave them in, but they're not overkill.
I'm going to give it 7 as well. I thought the jump scares. Xander said it perfectly. Yep, 7.
Pacing.
10.
Wow, that's awesome.
I'm going to give it an 8. I did feel at one point in the film, I was like, boy, this is getting like, we're like, let's get it going. And right when I thought that, it got going. So 8 from me.
Okay. Effects.
This is a weird one. I'm going to be pretty neutral here and say 5. There's not a lot of effects in this film.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say 9. Like
5, not that it's bad.
Right.
Like, there's not a lot
of effects. It doesn't have
film.
like your gore, your scary monsters.
Like, maybe that question is like makeup, costume, and effects. And in that world, I guess that's how I'm thinking about it. I'm like a 9 for me, because Aunt Gladys is going to be memorable.
if we're talking about like costume design, definitely 10. Like I agree with Sam on Gladys, probably one of the most iconic horror characters I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And
I've seen
acting
pictures of her all over Twitter.
She brought long legs to the big screen. Okay.
Oh, also, the other thing I noticed, I talked about the second watch, at the very opening of the film, when the child's narrating the scene of like 17 kids left their bedrooms, they interviewed the teacher and when Alex is sitting talking to the FBI, in the very side of the screen, you see Gladys's hair sitting next to him, which I thought was an incredible detail that, of course, you didn't notice the first time. You just assumed it was his mother. It went over your head.
I can't believe he said I didn't
That's
notice,
crazy.
of course, the first time. I could have noticed. The best version of me could have noticed. I did not notice, though.
So the detail in this movie was incredible.
That is great. McNeesy says, does 5 equal average here? Yes, it does. 5, yes, it does.
Yeah.
And I would say it's higher. But...
the last one's music. And this is interesting because Xander said you'd have a totally different answer.
Okay, you go first, Xander.
Yeah, I thought the music was excellent in this film. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I mean, it's not something that's like I relate that song to this film now. I think that's what makes it a 10 out of 10. But there is especially like when the kids are running at the very first scene out of their door and they're playing this kind of like happy music. I mean, this is an effect that's been overkilled in horror, but it's ultimately been overkill because it works. Like anything with kids, you play some sort of like light melody, lighthearted song. It works very well because it gives you that innocence of a child, and at the same time, like you see something like awful happening on screen. So that's always been a horror trope, but it's, for me, the music was excellent. I'd say 8 out of 10. There's some other points I could point to, but for sake of
8 out of
time.
10 is great. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 because I thought it was good throughout the film. Like you said, opening shot is great. End shot with just sound effects is great. Like the sound of that final scene is great. I also want to give us a second to shout out our sponsor, Trader Joe's. Witch's Brew is what I'm drinking tonight.
I don't know if we can say technically that our sponsor. They're not paying for anything.
They're our unofficial sponsor. We would not be here tonight in the state that we are without witch's brew. Red wine with spices added from Trader Joe's. So I just wanted to give a shout out. Like, I've just been re-pouring all night, and it's been going down nice. So I just want to like throw that out there. McNeasy in the chat, by the way, #1 chatter, #1 subber, #1 Discord chatter. I just want to put it there. And our first,
he's our #1 fan. That's crazy.
This guy is like, literally, I've known him half my life. All right, he's like a baby to me. Okay, maybe I need a rewatch of Weapons. He says, and according to Xander, go rewatch it. It's going to be great. And you know what? From not even rewatching, I would say like I can see, because of the scale of Weapons, that it has much more rewatchability than Barbarian. Like, I can see that for sure. But I'm also like, if I want someone to be spooked, Corey, don't take that the wrong way. Like, go watch Barbarian first time around. So like, that's kind of.
I would agree. I would say on like, as far as like what's scarier, I would agree. Barbarian is scarier. Yeah,
Trader
but I think
Joe's
the better
lawyers
movie
incoming is what the chat is saying. We're just gonna ignore that until that happens. So Xander, your final rating on this? Sorry, just so I remember.
9.5.
9.5.
Excellent
Okay.
film.
Mine was an 8.5. It's the same as Barbarian. I can't choose between the two. But so that gives us a 9. One of our highest rated films on the Take Two podcast. Very cool, honestly.
Well done. Do we want to move into the next segment? Do we want to move into this rapid fire?
We do. I guess we'll wrap up and just say, like, man, this guy has knocked. Oh no, I had one more thing before we go to this next thing. I want to talk to Xander about this. No. This will only take a second. Ignoring the chat as we speak here, I will say this. Xander, I have a question for you. I have a little bit of an annoyance and a little bit of a problem recently with, once a horror movie hits, like Weapons, there's all this talk of prequels, and I've heard already that an Aunt Gladys prequel is confirmed, and I'm just not fully on board for that. I don't love the horror prequels. I'm like, the mystery is half the fun. I don't need an Aunt Gladys prequel. That's how I feel out of my gut. I want your opinion on it.
Sure. I mean, but that's a horror history in general, right? Like, look at every horror movie that's been great. They've prequeled and sequeled the hell out of it. I mean, Conjuring was an amazing film. I could care less for all the sequels. Same with Insidious. Like, it's just all these movies, going all the way back to Carpenter's John Halloween, right? Which we'll get into. But like, they've just that's horror. I think that's where it's like, horror is not like a big money making thing, but then once you get people who are loyal to the original film, they're gonna follow everything. So you're following the money. I agree. I'm not like a huge fan of that either, unless we're talking about the Penguin spinoff from the Batman, which I know you're affectionate to. But yeah,
affectionate to. 10 out of 10. That's how I'm we haven't even reviewed that on the podcast because Kenny hasn't gotten to it. But like, yeah.
Ooh.
That's
thanks for that recommendation.
My DH, if you know what I mean. By the way, McNeasy says WCU. He really wants the Weapons universe to open up here. So you know what?
How many M4s can
I'd be honest, I'd watch it.
I'd watch it too. You know what? If you're gonna talk about a WCU, maybe I'm open to it. Kenny, any comments or thoughts before we move to our little fun segment we're going to get at the end? Because we don't have Xander on here often. Even though, I got to say, he's been a great guest. Maybe our best guest.
Absolutely.
Shout out Josh. Like, Evan was very mid. So here we are.
Poor Evan. You were great, Evan. Xander, you have a free pass. Come back on the pod whenever you want. It's October. And so we could keep this trio. We could keep the three amigos rolling, but we will go ahead. So my thoughts are, I am actually intrigued to watch Weapons. I'm heading to Charlotte this week, so I might take a look at that. And I've heard almost exclusively good things about Zach Cregger, period. Like, and not just from you guys, but from other people who Sam would definitely qualify as woke. I've also liked all of his movies, so this is
Kenny,
you
you
know
haven't
it.
asked me my woke meters on this movie.
Oh yeah,
What's
yeah, yeah.
going
Okay,
on?
so really quick from like sleepy, like just having taken well, what's the thing that you take when you
Caffeinated? Is that what it was?
melatonin?
Okay, melatonin.
Yes.
So from melatonin to like
Wait,
Adderall.
what the hell's going on in the chat here? Levi Wood says, "How did Xander get a cool name and your name's Sam?" What the hell's that supposed to mean? Sam isn't cool anymore?
Not as cool as Xander, bro.
All right. You know what? Next stream, I'm coming out with a new name. I'm not me anymore. Okay. most woke is a 10. Least woke is
Yeah, it's Adderall. Adderall is like
Okay. What else is a 10?
peak woke.
I'm gonna say
Is like AOC is Adderall.
okay, that's funny. Barbarian? Hell, I'm gonna give Barbarian like a 2. Like Barbarian wasn't woke at all. Barbarian was great. Okay, maybe
So it's
a little,
like the magnesium to the melatonin. Okay,
maybe
and
a
then
little
and
Me Too
then
movement in there. Maybe a little anti-white man. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna give it a 2.
weapons.
Weapons. Weapons. I'm gonna give like a 4. Okay, and that's
Because
not
of the
bad.
M4.
That's not bad considering there's like a gay couple in the movie, and every time I see that, I'm just like, and I get
You're
a
such
little...
an ally, Sam.
I am an
great to see.
ally. I am an ally. I swear to God, I'm an ally of some things. But I know it's a little risque to say. I know people are gonna like that, but I mean,
We are going long, so I'm gonna clip us along. But thank you for answering that question.
okay.
So we're now going to go into a bit of a rapid fire thing in honor of October, in honor of Sam and Mai's birthday, in honor of Halloween. We have a few questions here. I'll ask the questions. I actually, on some of these, will have something to say, and other things I may not have anything to say. But the first question, and we'll start with Xander, and we'll work our way back to me. And Sam, you're in the middle.
Thank God.
It's because you have the most
I
forgettable
love
name out of
being
the
in
three of
middle.
us.
I love being in the middle of a menage a trois, if you know what I mean.
You're such an ally.
I'm an ally.
Okay, most quintessential Halloween movie. Xander, you go first.
No. Hold on. Just so everyone knows who's in the chat, who's listening post stream, we're going to give descriptions of these films, and Kenny's going to tell us which film he'd prefer. And we're not going to give the names, we're going to give the names after. So these are going to be great films for anyone who's looking for some October Halloween horror films. Like, these are all going to be great. Okay, so like, I'm just throwing that out there. We're not giving the names first, we're giving the descriptions. That's the game. Kenny's going to pick, then we give the names. There we go.
Okay, so pitch me on most quintessential Halloween movie. Xander, go.
Might be controversial, but this is an anthology film, and it
F.
follows a. Yeah, I figured it would be yours as well, Sam, because it's like such a good film, and it's not well known, but it follows around similar to the way, not similar to Weapons, but it follows around like 6 different anthology stories that play off like classic like horror movie tropes like werewolves and like psycho killer.
Thanks for effing me.
And anyway, and then there's this like central character in the background, and it all kind of comes together in the end. And it's light and dark at the same time, right? Like you really enjoy watching it, but at the same time, like there's some pretty like dark shit like happening in front of your face. But ultimately, every little anthology piece in this film is excellent, like 20-minute clips. And it also like keeps your attention, so like you're not like watching this long 2-hour film. You could have fun with friends and eat popcorn and watch this film.
Okay, does that sound intriguing to you, Kenny?
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Okay, that's great. He stole my film, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say, Kenny, would you rather watch an anthology film about a bunch of like awesome, unique stories that like intertwine subtly and like really encapsulate like the epitome of what Halloween should feel for any age? Or would you rather watch an unknown masked killer stalk and murder people in a small town one by one. This killer doesn't speak, he doesn't think, but he is a representation of evil all on its own, and probably has the most recognizable face you've ever seen in the horror industry. Which one are you going with?
Incidentally, the other film I had on my list.
Okay,
Right.
wow.
Yeah. I know the one Sam's talking about. No idea the one Xander's talking about. So, Xander, what's your film? I'm interested in yours. I pick yours.
F me.
My film is Trick or Treat, or Trick or Treat with an R in the middle. Great film.
Yeah.
I will say
2007.
the character in Trick or Treat with the mask and the candy cane stick.
Sam. His name is Sam.
His name is Sam, so I really feel betrayed here. My film,
Checkmate.
Kenny, can you guess my film?
It's called. Wait, this is not Five Nights. What is this? Is the guy's name is Freddy Krueger?
This is incorrect.
Ooh,
My
way
God.
off.
See, Kenny.
Is it Jason? Is the other guy Jason?
Oh my
Ooh,
gosh.
0 for 2.
Oh
One
my
more
gosh.
chance.
Brutal.
Not
It's-
bad
it's a-
guesses. It's Halloween with Michael Myers, and honestly, like, takes place on Halloween, and legit, the original's good.
Is he the guy that has like the weird like moon mask?
Yeah.
Maybe.
You're thinking of Jason, I think. But yeah, this is a great film. I actually was torn between the two of them. I went with Trick or Treat because I thought it would win. So
That one definitely wins.
Trick or Treat, before we move on real quick, is like, I've recommended that to so many people to watch on Halloween who are like, I can't watch anything too scary. Watch this. I give it to them, and they're like, that didn't scare me. I'm like, yeah, Trick or Treat's not gonna like scare you, but it's freaking awesome. Like, it's like the best Halloween film I've ever seen.
It's a great one.
And people are saying in the chat that I stole Trick or Treat from you because you said it first. So like, Levi Wood says Kenny was homeschooled. There's no way he went 0-2 on guessing Halloween. Oof, that is a tough look. That is a tough look.
Brutal.
Okay. Anyways, you can't go wrong with either of them.
Yeah. My most quintessential Halloween movie for me is Harry Potter. Or to stay with the horror thing, I will go with Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh man, you gotta be careful. That might be on my list somewhere.
And are we feeling Halloweeny? I'm gonna give from Lauren real quick, just a quick shout out because she actually gave 2 great answers for this. Halloween Town, she said, fair, like great classic film. I'm gonna tell you what else Lauren said for a great Halloween film. If I can remember it. She told me, and it was I don't want to go sidetracked. This witch's brew is getting to me. I swear to God.
Okay. We have to keep
podcast.
going. We can come back to it.
No, it's only
The next
$8.99.
movie we're gonna go on to the next movie because it's almost 11 o'clock.
Kenny,
But
it's a Sunday night. Relax.
I'm Team Kenny here. Let's keep going.
Okay, sorry.
Scariest movie.
Wait. I just remembered.
Oh my God.
I just remembered. Hocus Pocus, she said, for quintessential Halloween film.
Okay, yeah.
And guess
Hocus
what?
Pocus.
I can't go wrong with that, considering you see some serious influence from that film into weapons. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. So, scariest movie. Pitch me on your scariest movie.
Xander?
So this one not many people at all will know this movie, but for me, I think about what actually scared me. Like I checked under the bed and in my closet as a grown man after watching this film a lot, right? And in this film, a couple goes camping in the woods, romantic getaway, and they are accosted by a group of teenagers who start messing with them. It gets physical to the point of like, a little bit gory at times. And then, one of them escapes, and then it kind of has a crazy twist ending that I'm absolutely in love with, but also horrified me because it's like, who can you trust? Right. So that's my film. And this one probably won't win, but it's extremely personal to me where I said, there's a lot of scary films that might like technically be scary, but this one got me good. And the ending was wild.
Okay. Sam.
Quick comment on that. I'm just going to say that movie that you're describing, I know what it is. It was in my top 5. I considered it. It is horrifying. so I don't want to be on Team Xander here, but I'm going to point out a film. A girl goes to stay with her college classmate at her farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. Just to be clear, they speak French. This is not a US film, this is a foreign film. And in the middle of the night, an assailant comes and begins to kill off the members in the household one by one. And our main character is trying to protect her classmate, who has brought her to this house from this unknown assailant. And we end up going on a wild chase of survival. And there are Texas Chainsaw-esque and Scream-esque twists throughout this film that will keep you on your toes, and you will never, similar to Xander's film, forget the horror of this film.
Oh man, this is okay. I'm going to answer this as the one that sounds the most scariest to me, which would probably mean the movie I wouldn't watch. But I think Xander's movie just scares the heck out of me. I do camp a good bit, so that is scary. Sam's movie, I'm like, ooh, I would watch that, which probably means it's not as scary. Well, before I give kind of like the scariest movies I've seen, which may not be very scary to you guys, do you have any honorable mentions here? Or actually, we need to know what your movies are. Yeah.
My movie was Eden Lake.
Oh.
It is a terrifying film, and I highly recommend it for everyone who loves horror. Actually appearing on like the scariest movie list, so I'm jealous. Samuel is like Speak No Evil. That was a good one. Then I kind of like go to my past and like what, again, similar to Eden Lake, what scared me. And when I was 10, I watched The Ring. That movie terrified me. Weird movie by M. Night Shyamalan called The Visit scared me quite a bit when I watched it. And the first time I watched Hereditary, that movie was Ari Aster, I know, but that movie was really, really scary. And a nice slow burn.
Xander, you know my movie?
It's not Martyrs, is it?
It is not. I haven't seen it.
It's the one where the guy's like in the big truck and he's driving. I know the movie. I've seen it.
It is High Tension.
High Tension. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Terrified me. Always thinking
that was
about
a scary one for sure. Crazy ending too.
Crazy ending. Kenny, your scariest movie you've ever seen? This could be a light question for you, but let's go for it.
There are two movies that come to mind. I'll stick with one just in case this other movie ends up on someone else's list. The scariest movie to me is, it's also not really qualified as a horror movie, it's more of a thriller, but it's called Nocturnal Animals. It is a movie about a guy who is divorced and he is writing a book, and he dedicates the book to his wife, and just a very, very dark and harrowing story. It is a movie that I've driven across West Texas many times in my life, and I never want to do it again after watching this movie. So
Right, fair. I'm gonna have to check
Very
that
good
out.
film.
I haven't seen it, so I'm gonna have to check it out. No spoilers. All right, Kenny, lead us off with our. We have 3 categories left, three little prompts, and then we'll wrap
3.
up.
Most fun horror movie. Pitch me on yours, Xander.
All right. So in this film, like many horror films for some reason, girl goes to an isolated family home, that's very nice, somewhere out in the woods.
You gotta be effing kidding
and then
me. Are you effing kidding me right now?
And then all of a sudden they kind of turn on her and they start attacking her. They're wearing masks of animals, and they're coming in from the woods and inside the house, but little do they know that she's like survival expert and ex like military or something, and has all these cool traps and basically fights them all off. And it's extremely entertaining the entire way through. It's like a I don't want to knock John Wick. It's like a B John Wick movie. It's kind of awesome.
Interesting. I'm
intrigued. Great, yeah. Let's just give Xander credit for stealing every movie that I have on this list, because this was the movie I had for most fun horror movie. But I have a backup. Don't worry. And in this film, Kenny, we have a heroine, okay, and a group of students in a small town. And this group of students is very into horror movies, okay? They are experts at horror movies. Like, if they were to be in a horror movie, they would know how to survive in a horror movie, okay? So they are taking their expertise, and it's very meta, and they're thinking to themselves, what would I do in a horror movie? I know what I'd do. I wouldn't be as dumb as those characters in a horror movie. And even though there's a mass killer in this small town killing off these high school students, these high school students are the best you can get, okay? And they will figure out who this killer is, and they will avoid the killer, and they will avoid all horror movie tropes to survive this film and eventually create arguably the most successful horror franchise in horror movie history. So that's my rebuttal to your next.
Dude, John Wick horror just sounds so fun. I'd watch that.
Scooby-Doo, McNeese? No, it was not Scooby-Doo. Okay,
is it the Anya Taylor-Joy movie? She has like
no,
like the short blonde-haired girl, right?
No, it's not Anya Taylor-Joy, even though she's been in some great horror movies. Xander, reveal your movie.
My movie is You're Next, and it's a great film.
That was my top
highly
movie too. I
recommend.
can't even believe that was your top movie for that.
Yeah, I thought about it for a while because I have 4 on there, and that was the one I ultimately picked.
I went.
Which, yeah, I know. I thought you were gonna pick the one you ultimately was your backup.
I went with Scream. Okay, I love Scream. It's a masterpiece. Scream will scare you, but it's also just like super meta and revolutionary, and just like changed the horror genre and blew out the block, but like made so much money at the box office. So like, Scream is my pick, even though, gosh, I'm just not getting picked tonight. Xander's hijacking my picks. We should have alternated. What is going on?
To be fair, that like the first 20 minutes of the first Scream movie is like the best part of that entire franchise. But
hey. Kenny, what is
it's great scene.
Your most fun?
My most. I bet you one of you guys have seen this movie. It is a movie that had come out this year. You'll have to let me know if it qualifies as a horror or not. But I saw this movie called Death of a Unicorn.
I haven't seen it. I want to. I've heard of it.
No.
It is it's very, very funny. It probably falls more under like the thriller part, but it does have kind of like the, like the survive the night, lots of gore, jump scares that I kind of and just like poor decisions, I guess, that I associate with horror movies. So that's my most fun horror movie. It's a great time. I would rewatch that movie right now. I think Death of a Unicorn is super fun.
I'm gonna check that out because I haven't seen it. Honorable mention on this list was Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, which is such a fun movie.
Yeah, it's
so fun.
Great movie.
So fun.
All right, we got 2 more quick categories.
Best new horror movie within the last couple years, say 5 years.
This is such a fun question. All right, Xander, go ahead.
This one is I excluded the 2 we talked about because I thought that was important. So the one I'm gonna describe is and this kind of goes back to me loving The Ring as a child and being scared by that. But this one was like very similar theme to that, where basically if you see someone smile and then they kill themselves, now you have like 7 days to live. And weird things start happening throughout that week. When I went into this movie, I thought it was gimmicky. I thought it was like your classic Hollywood horror. Like, this is stupid. Really good movie, really good special effects. At the end of the movie, it kind of went wild as well, which I loved. But also like good tension the whole time, and it was like pretty much rinse and repeat The Ring. But I loved that about it. So that's my.
Okay, Kenny, I know you're gonna side with me on this one. Imagine a one taker, and we love the studio. Okay, we love our one takers here. Imagine a one taker of a late night talk show. And I'll tell you this talk show host has lost his bravado. He's lost his fame, okay? Imagine him sort of as a Jimmy Kimmel, if you will, of today's day and age. He's kind of losing
Such an ally.
Such an ally.
Sam,
I'm a great ally. Kind of losing his audience. But here he is. He says, it's Halloween. Let's do a special. Let's bring some people on. Let's bring like someone who can communicate with the dead on. Let's bring their people on. Let's bring someone who can debunk this person who's trying to communicate with people in the dead. And let's do it in a one-taker. On a late night show, live on TV. Okay? Audiences are watching. at home, and this person's, it's his last shot at revitalizing the fame and his career. And imagine what this person would give up to have one glorious night to bring him back to fame, what he would give up. So there's my pitch.
I'm like, I really just want to troll Sam and go with Anders, but he's
No,
appealed to my inner podcaster and chose to talk about a broadcaster. So, Sam, I think I'll be choosing yours.
Okay, that would be if you want to watch it, Late Night with the Devil. Listen, this movie's not going to scare you by any means, but it actually has a pretty good message at the end of the film, and it's so fantastically done. So Late Night with the Devil is my recommendation for best new horror film from the last handful of years.
Okay.
Really good
Xander?
movie. I couldn't agree more. That's a really good movie, and I'd probably pick it. I didn't really think of it, so great one. Mine is Smile, which is like they made a Smile 2, which was okay, but like Smile 1 was, I thought, fantastic. Like a lot of long shots, a lot of dialogue. Your classic hero is trying to figure out how to stop themselves from being killed by this entity. Loved it. Corny, gimmicky. Loved every bit of it. I thought they did a great job with it.
Nice.
Levi Wood says Randy Marsh and the Integrity Halloween special. I haven't seen that.
Ooh,
Have you seen that,
I
Xander?
don't know.
no, but anything with Randy Marsh, sign me up.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. All right, last one before we sign off,
Yeah.
Kenny.
Best underrated or lesser known horror movie. Xander, pitch me your
I will be
hidden gem.
highly surprised if anyone knows this one, but it's one of my favorite like unknown horror films. Right, this one follows like a high school student who turned down a classmate's prom invitation,
Oh gosh, this
and
movie's so
and then
good.
was kidnapped and basically brought to the girl's house with her father, tortured. And there's also like this giant mystery of something else that happens in this film. It's kind of gory, it's kind of shocking, and it's really well shot. Really felt the terror on this one. This was actually the hardest category to pick one, in my opinion, because I have like a list of 10. But yes, this one was incredible. It kind of goes from the, oh, I just said no to someone to go to the prom with me, to like absolute craziness, like fake prom setup, crazy dad. Even crazier thing happens after it, that I don't want to spoil the movie, because I highly recommend people watch this.
I hate to say, it's such a great movie.
Like dark secrets, great climax. It's incredible.
I know the movie Xander's talking about. It's a great movie. I'm also going to throw out another movie that I feel like no one saw and no one talks about. This is a movie where 4 people, 2 couples, get together. There are some secrets in the couples. There's some insecurities in the couples, some dark past in the couples. And they go to rent this gorgeous high-end Airbnb in California on the ocean. Okay? And everyone's fear when they're staying at a rental property is like, what if somebody were watching us? What if somebody had some secret cameras in here and they were filming us in this bedroom right now? What if they were listening to our conversations? Okay? And these 4 people, as their lives are becoming intertwined and we feel this tension building, one of them discovers that perhaps, just perhaps, an unknown or perhaps known person in the film has been watching their every step, their every move, and what sort of implications that could have on their lives, on their careers, on everything they value in life. What would you do to keep the things you've said in private a secret? That's all I'll say.
I think both of your guys' descriptions are going to give me nightmares. Though both of those movies sound so terrifying. So I'm between a promposal goes wrong and a
Airbnb goes wrong.
you've been punked, but horror. Oh man. I think I'm gonna have to go with Sam's. It's really interesting. Like, what will people do to keep the skeletons in their closet
Yes.
hidden?
Can I reveal? The
Yeah, please
movie
do.
is called The Rental. Super underrated. It's by Dave Franco directs it. His wife is in the film. Um,
Interesting.
I would put it right up there with Speak No Evil and Barbarian as far as the tension and the social connections being built in the film are just absolutely incredible. The slow burn is amazing. Barry Allen White is in the film from The Bear. It is so good, and like it's not even turning horror until the last like 15 to 20 minutes as far as pure horror. It is just tension building. You don't know what's going on in the film necessarily or where it's going to take you. It has stuck with me. And I will say Dave Franco did such a good job directing in that he got his second gig. He got to direct Together, which I haven't seen, but I've heard great things about. So like this comes from this film, which is on Netflix called The Rental. Like, go in, don't know any Jeremy Allen White, the same bit. So The Rental, go watch The Rental if you haven't seen it. Underrated.
And Sandra, what was your movie?
My movie was called The Loved Ones. It's a Australian film. I don't want to give it away genuinely because it's that good. Um, I went in, found it on some list, maybe 10 odd years ago, watched it, and I like was like, this is an incredible movie. It was terrifying. It was gory, but like not like gory like you would expect from a horror film, more like psychotic gore, kind of like the Saw style. But no, really good movie. And highly like Saw one, not any of the bad sequels. But really recommend it. You know that movie, Sam? The Loved Ones.
I've
really
seen
good.
it. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Like it's like maybe a 10 out of 10. It's so freaking good.
It was good.
Wow.
Some other ones I had just because I love dropping these for people, and then I'll shut up because I know we've gone long. But The Invitation is really good. Really love that movie. House of the Devil, a Ty West film. Really slow burn though. Like Vacancy, like Luke Wilson, like actually a pretty good movie. Kill List, which is a movie, one of Brad Pitt's like first movies. The Uninvited. Coraline, which is a cartoon movie, would be the other one, which is actually like the most horrifying cartoon movie I've ever seen.
Nice. Sam, any
Yeah, I guess
honorable mentions?
Here's my honorable mentions for the whole thing. I'll say Sinister didn't get mentioned, super mainstream, but like actually clocked in as like the scariest film ever made. They did a test and they said heartbeats per minute. It rated as the highest. So like props to Sinister. It scared the hell out of me. I had 2 nights of nightmares when I watched it. I'm gonna say Long Legs that came out this year. Or last year was amazing. I love Long Legs. It really scared me. I thought it was really good. And one that no one knows here, I doubt it, is called Bloodfest. It's so good. It's so funny. Basically, all these people go into this like big horror festival and they do this big presentation and they start to kill everyone in the audience. They're basically, you have to go survive. And they just make it like a big game, but like, it's just so good. Like, I don't even want to describe anymore Bloodfest because it's so funny. It's more of like the Tucker and Dale versus Evil, but it's Bloodfest. Go check it out. It's amazing.
My last plug.
Oh yeah,
go ahead.
Go for it. No, go
My
for
last
it.
plug. It's not a movie. It's a show. Go watch From. Best horror mystery box thriller I've seen.
Nice. And I actually do have a few for this category that I'll start, and you guys can let me know if you've seen them. The first movie is called It Follows. It's about like what if a haunting was a sexually transmitted disease, and everyone it's like the only movie I've ever seen where like the zombies or like whatever the haunting thing is moves very slowly but is unrelenting, and whoever has the disease has to stay alive. If they die, it works its way all the way back in the line. Incredibly terrifying. One of the first horror movies I've ever seen. The second movie is an Iranian movie called Under the Shadow, where this girl is haunted by a jinn, and the jinn is the spirit. It takes place in Tehran during the Iran-Iraq War, and the jinn is like the spirit of
Saddam
war,
Hussein.
and it's right. But it's it's kind of like an interesting thing of like how terrifying it was to be a civilian during that time in that area. And then my last one, which is it definitely falls more under the thriller category because it's really not scary until literally like the last 15 seconds of the movie, and that is Enemy by Denis Villeneuve. I cannot.
Yeah.
That last 15 seconds of the movie is the most surprising thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and it just the entire movie like it turned horror for me because I was like, oh, this is like a really interesting like mystery, like who's this doppelganger, and then you find out, and it's just like absolutely devastating.
Yeah, so those are great recommendations. All great recommendations. We went way too long tonight. My fault. I wanted to add this fun segment on because I didn't know how long we'd have my brother. And normally we just do review. So like, sorry for running this so long. Like Xander,
no, it was awesome.
Thank you for staying up. Like, sorry we ran this so long. Normally it's like an hour or less, but we went like an hour and a half. Just as like, we don't know when we're gonna have Xander on. And it was a fun time. McNeasy says Nicolas Cage singing is forever in my nightmares. That was hilarious from Long Legs. But yeah, we never plug ourselves, so like please sub if you made it this far, which I know you did, but if sub like Levi Woods' Cabin in the Woods ending was great. Cabin in the Woods was amazing. Cabin in the Woods is so fantastic.
That was on my list.
Yeah,
as like fun ones.
So like anyways, like, sub, share, follow, hop in our Discord where we talk about movies all the time out of the podcast, like with just other movie fanatics. That'd be awesome. But like, yeah, Xander, thank you for joining us. Hopefully we can have you on
thanks for having me
soon. We do some like more horror stuff maybe this month, maybe some Chris Nolan stuff at some point with this new film coming out. So anyways, we're gonna sign off. So everyone say goodbye and we're gonna sign off.
Good night. Sleep well, everybody.